The storm winds of Krayla 7 howled across the crystalline plains, carrying razor-sharp ice particles that could shred unprotected flesh in seconds. Commander Asha pressed her gloved hand against the viewport of the emergency shelter, watching the massive form struggling in the distance of Vorak, one of the galaxy's most feared apex predators, now dying alone in the frozen wasteland. "Captain, the Coalition evacuation ships have all departed," her communications officer reported, his voice tight with barely concealed anger. "They left 43 minutes ago." Asha's jaw clenched. 43 minutes. That's how long it had taken for every other species in the galaxy to abandon this world, and with it, the creature that had been their prisoner, their exhibition, their scientific curiosity. The Vorak had been brought here by the Zelthian Research Collective to study its remarkable regenerative abilities. But when the solar flare warnings came, when Krayla 7's magnetic field began collapsing, everyone ran. Everyone except the humans. "How long do we have before the radiation levels become lethal?" Asha asked. 6 hours, Captain. Maybe 7 if we're lucky. She turned to face her crew, 28 men and women who had volunteered for this rescue mission, when every other species had called them insane. "That thing out there has been trapped in a containment field for 3 years. The Zeltians kept it sedated, studied it, harvested its tissues for their precious research. And now they've left it to die." "With respect, Captain," Lieutenant Chun spoke up, "the Vorak are responsible for the Sigma Outpost massacre. 216 souls. My sister was one of them." Asha met his eyes. She knew this pain intimately. "I know, Chun, I lost people too. But that was a different Vorak, in a different place, acting on instinct in its own territory that we invaded. This one? This one has done nothing except exist while others profited from its suffering." She pulled up the holographic display showing the creature's vital signs. Its containment field is failing. The facility's power core is fluctuating. When it goes, that field drops, and the Vorak will be free but too weak to survive. The cold alone will kill it in hours. "So what's the plan?" Chen asked, and Asha heard the shift in his voice. He wasn't arguing anymore. He was ready. "We're going to do what humans do best," she said with a slight smile. "Something incredibly stupid that somehow works." 2 hours later, Asha stood at the entrance of the Zelthian facility, her thermal suit barely holding against the dropping temperatures. Beside her, Chun and 5 others prepared the heavy-lift transport drone. Inside, the Vorak watched them with eyes like molten amber, intelligent, aware, and utterly exhausted. The creature was magnificent, even in its weakened state. 4-legged, with a body covered in bioluminescent scales that pulsed with faint blue light, it stood nearly 5 meters tall at the shoulder. Its head was crowned with crystalline horns that resonated with subsonic frequencies, a natural weapon that could shatter steel. But now those horns were dim, their resonance silent. "Easy now," Asha whispered, though she knew the Vorak couldn't understand English. She deactivated the containment field's pain response, first a cruel mechanism the Zelthians had installed. The creature flinched, then seemed to realize the torment had stopped. Its eyes fixed on Asha. "Yeah, I know," she said softly. "Everyone else left you, but not us." "Never us." The Vorak made a sound, something between a growl and a whimper. Asha's translator crackled uselessly. Vorak language was too complex, too layered with subsonic and ultrasonic components that human technology could barely detect, let alone interpret. But she didn't need words. She understood abandonment. She understood betrayal. And she understood that every living being deserved a chance. "Chan, bring in the transport," she ordered, getting a 5-ton alien predator onto a hover transport, while radiation levels climbed and temperatures plummeted, was not in any manual Asha had ever read. The Vorak resisted at first, its survival instincts warring with its exhaustion. But when Chen approached with food synthesizers producing nutrient paste, crude but effective, the creature's demeanor shifted. It ate, and while it ate, it allowed the humans to work. "Captain, we need to move now," the communications officer urged through her helmet comm. "Radiation spike in 20 minutes. Almost there," Asha grunted, securing the last stabilization strap. The Vorak's eyes never left her, tracking every movement with predatory precision. She wondered if it understood what they were doing. If it understood that these fragile bipeds, these humans who could barely survive this world's natural conditions, were risking everything for it. The journey back to the ship was a nightmare of howling winds and failing equipment. The transport drone's anti-gravity field flickered twice, and each time, Asha's heart stopped, imagining the Vorak plummeting onto the ice. But Chun, brilliant Chun, rerouted power from their own suit heaters to keep the drone stable. They reached the ship with 14 minutes to spare. As the cargo bay doors sealed and pressurization began, Asha finally allowed herself to breathe. The Vorak lay on the transport platform, its bioluminescent scales now glowing brighter in the controlled environment. Medical drones swarmed around it, checking vitals, administering treatments. "Captain, we're receiving transmissions," the communications officer said. "The Zeltian Collective is demanding we return their specimen. They're calling this theft of scientific property." Asha's laugh was harsh. "Tell them to file a complaint with the Human Diplomatic Corps, and inform them that as of now, this Vorak is under the protection of Earth's Endangered Sentient Species Act." "They're saying Vorak aren't sentient, Captain." "Then they haven't looked into those eyes." As if on cue, the Vorak lifted its massive head, those amber eyes finding Asha across the cargo bay. For a moment, human and alien regarded each other. Then slowly, deliberately, the creature lowered its head, not in submission, but in acknowledgement. Chun stepped beside his captain. "We're going to catch hell for this from the Coalition." "Let them complain," Asha said. "Every species in this galaxy decided that things' life wasn't worth the risk. But we're humans. We don't abandon the helpless, even when they're monsters. Especially when they're monsters. Because we know what it's like when the universe decides you're not worth saving." The Vorak's scales pulsed with light blue, then violet, then a warm gold. The medical drones registered the change as a sign of decreased stress, of healing beginning. "Set course for Earth," Asha commanded. "Let's take our new friend home." As the ship lifted off from Krilla 7, leaving behind the empty facilities and the approaching radiation storm, the Vorak released a sound that no human had ever heard before, a subsonic pulse that resonated through the hull like a song. The translator couldn't decode it, but somehow everyone understood. It was gratitude.